We're back. Hopefully it wasn't too long. We're now back and live on YouTube again. Beautiful. Hopefully all you users continue to start trickling in. Now, if you see us on YouTube, feel free to ask questions. Let us know kind of what you want to know about anything going on in the winter meetings. James, I'm going to ask you while I get this set up. What do you think about this Orioles lineup with Pete Alonso in there? There is some talk that it's like one of the best lineups in baseball. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, totally. I think there's also a funny park factor that will affect Pete Alonso in a positive way rather than negative going to Campton Yards, where he's a prolific power hitter, of course, but he's not exactly this kind of pulled fly ball maven that a lot of other power hitters are. Where a big part of his power alley is to right center field as a right field hitter, and Camden Yards has one of the kindest right center field alleys to home runs in all of baseball. So I think that while as a right-handed hitter, it feels like a park downgrade, that's a park upgrade. And I think one that helps Pete Alonso actually age more gracefully than he possibly would have in a place like Citi Field, where right center field is not as kind. So the fact that you can go with this lineup in the middle, Westberg, Henderson, Alonso, not even playing in a hopeful jump from Jackson Holiday, a hopeful bounce back in Adley Rushman, and whatever growth we get from Dylan Beavers, Colton Cowser, Samuel Basayo, and the consistency of Taylor Ward, there's not a light spot in this lineup. Like I'm assuming they try to work a trade for either Mountcastle or Beavers now at this point, see if they can get a pitcher.
Or everybody's favorite prospect, Kobe Mayo.
Yeah, wow. What happened to Kobe Mayo after this one?
Yeah.
Metro trade for Kobe Mayo, but Metro go after Mountcastle Mayo. This might be the best, at least the most complete lineup in baseball as it's currently constructed.
Would you trade David Peterson for Mayo?
Yeah, in a millisecond.
You probably have to throw in like a lower level prospect or whatever too, like a pitching prospect. But if that's the crux of the deal, would you do that?
A microsecond, I would do that. I'm not the biggest David Peterson fan out there. I do think that his inconsistencies over the years has made me just totally sour on him. Like he could be my 4 or 5 in a playoff rotation, but I don't really see the very good upside that Dave Peterson has shown over the last few years. But it is funny now that the Orioles did tender a contract to Ryan Mountcastle, and now he doesn't even have a sliver of a chance, it seems like, for playing time with Taylor Ward, Samuel Basayo, and Pete Alonso on this roster. Like if Jackson Holiday becomes even like 40% of what we hoped he would be a few years ago, this is, I think, without a doubt, the best lineup in baseball.
Yeah. We'll see. I think it has the potential to be. I think everybody crowning it as such now, after a lot of those guys had down years last year, might be a little bit premature, but we'll see. We've got some fellow ranters in here. DVS says, I'm so disgusted. Put Stearns on the next flight out of town to LA, to Baltimore, wherever he wants to go. Total joke. This is Polar Bear Pete. You know, I think that there's a lot of sentimental value here. He's the franchise home run leader.
Well, there's the famous rant from Don LaGreca on ESPN Radio. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but it's the fact that the Mets there's never been a really forever Met. Like if the forever Met is Ed Kranepool. Don LaGreca goes through this diatribe of like, if you picked up Ed Kranepool from the airport, he'd have to explain who he was. And again, Ed Kranepool still is a tremendous player, very important Met in the history and their lore, but Pete was the forever Met. Like Pete could have retired as a Met, taken every at bat with the club, hit 500 homers like that. That was the guy. And now it's like, there's always been a snafu when we've tried to get a forever Met, and there isn't one. And that part will hurt a lot when I see Pete Alonso in Orioles jersey next year.
Yeah. Our friend Nick Pollock over at Pitcher List is worried about you. He says, hey, James, are you okay? And apparently I forgot. I wasn't going to rub it in, but it's Edwin. It's losing the Big Ten championship. It's Pete Alonso. It's been a rough few days. But you have the college football playoff, so that's okay.
Yeah, Ohio State's odds to win the national championship went higher after their path was revealed from moving from the 1 seed to the 2 seed. So I can't be particularly upset about that. Even though I was a little mad in the moment about that, but tell Nick at least thankfully we beat Michigan. Hopefully he can enjoy that one. It's just it's a really weird 24 hours to be a Mets fan. It's a reckoning of a roster that sadly there's a lot of sentimentality from, where at the same time they never won anything.
Right. And
That's
that is
it.
an interesting thing. It feels like, so if Jeff McNeil gets traded, which feels likely,
That could happen before the end of the stream.
right, then the 5 longest tenured Mets from heading into the offseason will all be gone.
Yeah.
Which is Nimmo and Diaz and Alonso and McNeil. And then, do you know the 5th one? There's your trivia.
The longest tenured Met right now.
The fifth of that group. It was Nimmo, Diaz, Alonso, McNeil, and there's a 5th guy who's part of the longest tenured Mets, and he is gone.
Oh, he's gone already?
Yeah.
I can't even think about last year's team right now. It wasn't David Peterson?
It's Drew Smith.
Oh, Drew Chains. I miss Drew. Drew,
Yeah.
there's also there's been so many weird stories and leaks about how possibly dysfunctional the Mets clubhouse might have been last year. There's also possibly been weird things about the Mets coaching staff or lack thereof. The fact that Jeremy Hefner mutually parted ways and immediately went to go coach the Braves. And then Adam Ottavino goes on a rant on his YouTube channel about Carlos Mendoza putting every reliever in a bad position. It's a strange moment right now for this Mets team, and maybe one that would have come if there wasn't a miraculous run to the NLCS 2 years ago, one that it seems like no one, including people inside that building, expected, honestly.
Yeah, listen, you could watch that team and think the bullpen management could use a little bit of work. So that doesn't shock me. Nick added that you can't have a rivalry if Michigan keeps winning, which is true. And also, it was a pretty good, I think Michigan fans, and I count myself as one, watching that football team this year, knew it wasn't going to be quite a great season, but it was an okay season. And they are just a wagon in basketball right now. Just like
amazing.
Watching that basketball team there's nobody standing in their way. It's pretty awesome. But we'll get back to baseball. Berna has a question. Is it true the Tarik Skubal trade is close to being complete? So I don't know if you've heard anything different, James. I have not heard anything that there's a trade close to being complete. I have heard that there's growing belief that he is going to be traded, which, conversation for another time, utterly ridiculous that you would trade a pitcher like Tarik Skubal when you continue to be so close to a World Series. And part of the reason is because of him. Like, you don't trade him. I'm honestly like, if he walks, he walks. I don't care. Like, I'm going to make him he's going to be a free agent. I'm going to make him as enticing an offer he could possibly get. I'm not trading him away when I've waited so long to get him. But I'm not hearing that anything is close. Are you?
Well, there's been one report that's gone mega viral now. It's up to over 3 million impressions on Twitter from a KTLA, that's a local news station in Los Angeles, sports anchor David Pingalore, saying that 16 hours ago, he says the deal's done. It's not been corroborated by any accredited reporters. So again, you take that with a grain of salt. I'd be surprised if a deal is close, if one is working in the background this much, because just like similar to you, this Tigers team held massive payrolls through the 2010s, and they did so while competing for world championships. It didn't get them anywhere, and it led to one of the most gruesome rebuilds we've seen in baseball over the last half decade that didn't even really come to fruition until a totally new regime took over than the one who actually pushed that rebuild into focus. But they probably have the money to pay him. And like you said, like, he's such a trump card. This Tigers roster is objectively bad, and objectively has been the last 2 years. And both times they've gotten to the final 8 of the Major League Baseball playoffs. So there's no real reason to be in a rush to trade this guy when modest improvements in the near term can actually make you a World Series competitor, and giving the commitment to him in the long term seems to make you a sustainable World Series competitor.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see. I can't see it happening. I can't see why you would want it happening. I obviously see it happening because people are talking about it. Like, where's he going to go? Is it going to be the Dodgers? I hope not.
If it is, I would be very upset about what happens next season.
Yeah. So if you're the Mets, is this still of interest to you? Do you say, like, hey, we have a lot of really young pitchers. Can we swing a trade for Skubal, even though we've let a lot of these other, like, longer tenured or big name MLB guys go? Do you kind of reload with like a an ace in the rotation?
I think absolutely. I think this, unless there's big moves on the horizon for the Mets, which again, I'm questioning that at this given moment, I think that takes him out for a guy like Freddie Peralta, who's like a much more modest rental upgrade. But I think a guy like Skubal, because I hope the Mets aren't the Cubs, like you make that trade with the intent of being in at least in the running to sign this guy to a long-term contract and hopefully
Right.
never let him out of the building. So I think you do put that up, especially because I know Tarik Skubal is a unique talent. He's I think basically without a question right now the best pitcher in baseball, at least between him and Paul Skeens. Like he's the prices for rentals over the years is not as much as the public would like to believe in the mock trades that get put out all over the world. So you can give a lot more than the Orioles get than the Orioles gave for Corbin Burns and still come out looking pretty good on a trade like that, especially if you're able to offer a long-term contract. And if you put Tarik Skubal in the current Mets team, like they probably do get to the playoffs. They probably do have a shot with just the trio of Lindor, Soto, and Skubal to at least hopefully give the Phillies and the Dodgers a run in a playoff series.
Yeah, I my prediction is I think the Red Sox trade for Freddie Peralta. I think the adding to their starting rotation, they have more guys than they need right now. I think there's Bayo and something else going to the Brewers for Freddie Peralta.
Might just be Bayo, like Bayo and something small.
Yeah. Bayo and an interesting prospect or something like that.
Because Bayo is like a very quality but like low ceiling starting pitcher at this point. Could you probably think you can coax great results out of him in a better ballpark with significantly better defense like the Brewers have?
Well, also Bayo fits now that these new changes to Bayo, where he's now a 3 fastball variation type, pitch to contact, baby. Get weak contact. Like that is what the Brewers do. And so I could definitely see that happening. Cow Chad says, hold Matthew Boyd for nothing, but trade Skubal the Detroit Tigers way.
What's your opinion on Freddie Peralta? Because I know you and Nick especially are often a bit lower on consensus than Freddie, like fastball Freddie, kind of chaos Freddie, loses that release point, and then he kind of falls all over the place. But this past year, the way the repertoire expanded, the way we saw more changeups, quality curveballs, like does that change your opinion of the long term for Freddie Peralta here, as he might be losing fastball velocity?
I think so. I mean, I think that what holds true for me about Freddie Peralta is that I think that there will always be some chaos. There'll always be some inconsistency because the fastball is an inconsistent pitch by nature. And when you have an inconsistent foundational pitch, you will be inconsistent. But I think the lows will be not so low because he now has a deeper arsenal to widen it out. So I think that Freddie Peralta's future got a little bit safer, but I think that there is still some there's still a little bit of chaos to be had there. But I think like if he's my ace, I'm probably I'm like a little nervous because I don't know that like if I give him the ball every 5 days, like, Skubal, Crochet, DeGrom, whatever, all the guys we always rank near the top, Skeens, like all those guys, you're like, I'm probably getting dominance here, or like 2 runs in 6 innings, right? Yeah. With Freddie Peralta, you're like, I could get 6 runs in 3 2/3. It's entirely possible. And so I'd rather have him as my second starting pitcher.
Would you have preferred, I know there's a world, like your prediction that they get both of them, would you have objectively preferred Sonny Gray or Freddie Peralta if there only could have been one?
I would have preferred Freddie Peralta.
Okay. Yeah.
If I could only have gotten one. But yeah. You made a face like you were like there's like something had happened.
Oh, I was keeping up with the Rule 5 drafts. I
was looking at it too. Nobody that's like, oh my God, everybody, knows him. Justin Armbruster went to the Mets.
Really?
In the AAA portion.
Griff McGarry to the Nationals, I think.
Yeah, Griff McGarry, I think, is the most notable. I think he's the most notable name, because he's been kind of fringy. Actually, the most notable name is probably Roddery Munoz, who went to the Braves, but Roddery Munoz hasn't amounted to much of anything.
I think I see the Astros for Roddery Munoz.
Yeah. Oh, he went from the Braves to the Astros.
Yeah.
So I'm going to post a question in the chat so I can put it up here.
Okay.
But this is my question to you. Are you concerned about Shane Bieber's forearm? Because a report just came out yesterday that Shane Bieber was dealing with forearm fatigue at the end of the season and pitched through it. People were wondering why he picked up his $16 million player option and didn't try to get a longer-term contract. And so there's some speculation that may have been part of the reason, is locking in $16 million for a guy who was battling forearm injuries at the end of the year may have felt like the safer bet. Given his extensive, elbow surgery issues, I had Shane Bieber currently ranked inside of my top 20 prior to this news. I may be way out from a fantasy perspective on Shane Bieber because this now makes him a much higher injury risk in my book than if he had just finished the year healthy.
Oh, no doubt about that. And we've seen it in the actions of the Blue Jays since the offseason began. Again, that was like a collective slight shock around the baseball world when Shane Bieber took that option, because you're going to see a lot of starting pitchers get a lot more money out there in the free agent market this year. Guys who might not even have as good of a 5-year view of Shane Bieber, but immediately Dylan Cease, Cody Ponce, the Blue Jays were trying to insulate their rotation, which again felt weird with the Shane Bieber automatic opt-in for a small amount of money. But this is worrisome by all accounts right now. He's someone who's dealt with elbow issues over the last few years. He just came back from Tommy John last year. A second significant surgery in such quick succession could honestly, sadly, completely destroy Shane Bieber's career after he just turned 30 this past season. It's a no-go in fantasy. It's probably almost a no-go in real life for the Blue Jays at this moment. I think there should be tons of fear across the board with Shane Bieber, especially when we've seen such intense velocity oscillations from him in the past. Like, I don't know if Shane Bieber can sustain even mid-rotation starting pitcher upside as a 91 mile an hour guy, which is where it could be after another big velocity downgrade.
Yeah, it is. It's unfortunate because I was a fan, again, early in my rankings of him with a full season with the Blue Jays and feeling like, hey, he finished that whole year, was healthy, whatever. But obviously that wound up not being the case. And so that's, that's a bummer. I don't know that I can take that chance. Like, if he falls and I'm picking him, around pick 250, 300, and it's like if he pitches fine, even pick 200, if it's like my rotation is kind of filled, then I could see it. But that's a little bit rough for me.
Yeah.
I should say of note, I do want to just talk. You mentioned the Rule 5 draft. It just, it's happening. But the first pick in the draft, mildly interesting to me.
Okay.
It's RJ Petit, who was a reliever in the Tigers bullpen. He was in AAA last year. First of all, he is 6'8" and listed at 300 pounds. So who knows what his actual weight is? But he's 6'8" and listed at 300 pounds. But he had a 2.68 ERA with 79 strikeouts in 66 and a third innings for the Tigers AAA team. He's going to Colorado, where he has to be on the active roster all year long. And it's like, are we going to make some spec bids on RJ Petit at some point, some spec save bids at some point in the year? Like, I could certainly see it.
I mean, I hope nothing happens to my boy Seth Halverson, but I'm impressed at the way the Paul DePodesta regime is starting in Colorado. I think hiring Josh Burns, taking Tommy Tanis from the Mets to be the assistants in that front office, and then making what seems like a sharp first pick of the Rule 5 draft. Like, these are the things you want to see for a team like the Rockies that I think we collectively hope just can enter some kind of era of competence that they have never really been able to show.
Yeah, it's hard that you're going to say the guy who made the trade for Deshaun Watson and signed him to that contract is the guy who's going to bring confidence to the
That's why
Rockies.
at the time it happened, I was like, I think this might get worse. But I mean, the first hires is making, I'm like, okay, I see some kind of positive vision there, which we've never said about the Rockies, really ever. And they've oddly been more willing to spend money than the other bottom dwellers in the league, like especially I'm sorry to all Reds fans out there getting a firm announcement that your team was no longer willing to spend money because they only were willing to spend it on Kyle Schwarber just because
Yeah.
he's from the Cincinnati area. Like at least that's not what's happening. At least there's real dollars being spent on getting high quality people in a front office for the first time ever in the history of the Colorado Rockies, because all their Pobos either had the same last name as the owner or with the organization since before its inception as an actual ball club.
Yeah. That was interesting. But I'm glad they are moving in a different direction. I thought an interesting pick in the Rule 5 draft was the Twins took Daniel Susac, and they then traded him to the Giants.
Oh,
he was the 19th overall pick in the 2022 draft. Like, that wasn't all that long ago. Last year he hit 275 with 18 homers in 97 games at AAA.
He's got pop.
The Giants catching situation is what? Like,
half the Giants roster is that.
Patrick Bailey is a good defensive catcher, so it's fine.
So I think it's kind of fun to pair him with a guy like Susac, who actually might have some pop. Because I just don't think the Giants, no matter how good of an offensive player Patrick Bailey is, you just can't give him 500 plate appearances again. You can't. He's a 30% worse hitter than league average with no improvement in sight. I don't think you can do that. I think there were a couple other fun moves that happened at the winter meetings this week that were not Mets related, thankfully. I think that the Kyle Finnegan re-upping with the Tigers is a really fun move for fantasy baseball, because we saw some great changes that he made last year when he came from the Nationals to the Tigers. Then he got hurt and they kind of meandered through the end of the season in the playoffs. But on a 2 for 19, that's probably closer money in that bullpen. And that's probably someone that can contend for 30 saves, right?
I think we're going to see, it was a pretty even split between Finnegan and Will Vest when Finnegan came over. Prior to the injury, Finnegan then missed most of September with an injury. So if you look at just like post All-Star break stats, you're going to see Vest has way more saves, but Finnegan missed like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But I believe they were 4 saves apiece.
Finnegan had 4 saves and 1 hold in August when he was healthy.
And I think Vest also had 3 or 4 saves in that time frame. So I think you're going to see a split. Maybe it's not 50-50, maybe it's 60-40, maybe it is purely righty-lefty, and so that will lean towards Finnegan. But I think, let's see what they do in the offseason. But if the Tigers remain a competitive team, I think you're getting 25-ish saves from Finnegan, and it could push more. And I think Vest becomes still like, in your NFBC formats where like maybe you don't want a traditional third closer, but you want somebody who's going to get some saves and pitch a lot. Like,
and be good.
Will Vest will be a really good reliever who might get 8 to 10 saves during the season. Or if Finnegan falters, like go on a stretch where he picks up a lot of saves. And so I think they could both have fantasy value. I did like that as a signing. I like that as a move. Berna wants to know, what are your thoughts on the Yankees offseason? Any updates on them?
Seemingly not.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the update was this morning. Brian Cashman said it's a
glacial pace.
It's a glacial pace. This offseason is going at a glacial pace.
Not for the Mets.
And not for the Mets. This is like an avalanche pace, just with you being trapped underneath it. But yeah, I mean, the Yankees don't seem in any kind of hurry, which I guess okay. They're at risk now of losing Bellinger. He's now the next guy on the list, and there's probably a lot of suitors. And are they willing to pay up for him? I think they could use some help in the rotation. You're probably not looking for a top end guy, but Rodon is out till May. Cole is out till June.
Is Cole officially June?
Late May, early June was what we heard. I'm just operating on the assumption that if you say late May, early June for a 33-year-old, 34-year-old, coming off a full lost year due to injury, and you're a team that expects to contend, you're probably going to err on the side of caution rather than throwing him right back in there. The bullpen, lost Evan Williams. You have Bednar still. You don't need a closer, but, might be nice to add another high leverage arm.
The Yankees are funny doing the anti-Mets right now, where they're running back the entire team, the entire core. It seems like they're not willing to make any massive changes to a team I think that they feel was on paper good enough to get to the World Series last year, but also without. It's funny, the Trent Grisham situation. It seems like the Yankees might have offered him that qualifying offer with the possible expectation that he was going to decline it.
Yeah.
And then he opts into it, and you're like, now that changed their outfield budget a lot. Like, there's going to be a lot of the next Yankee season is going to rely on homegrown players, which has not been a thing we've said about the Yankees a lot in the last decade plus, where it's a Ben Rice, Jason Dominguez, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe season. Like, there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting done by those guys. Same with Cam Schlittler and Luis Heel, as that starting rotation is aligned right now. But it seems like they're very content with the status quo. You also have to think that they're going to be one of the teams that hotly pursues Tatsuya Imai. They seem like a very good fit for him. But then also at the same time, like, I think Imai winds up being a fly ball pitcher in the major leagues with his fastball shape. I don't know if I want a fly ball pitcher in Yankee Stadium coming here for the first time. I don't know if you want to, kind of dance with a possible home run problem for a guy you might have to commit $200 million for. There's a real desire for the status quo among Yankees front office right now. It doesn't seem to be echoed by their fan base.
Yeah. I think they need to do something. They're currently doing nothing. The AL East is trying to do something. Another team trying to do something is the Pittsburgh Pirates, who at least extended a viable, sizable offer to Kyle Schwarber. Just signed Gregory Soto, who not nothing. I mean, he will probably form a closer tandem with Dennis Santana.
Yeah.
They appear to be in on Brandon Lau as of today's reports. They traded Johan Oviedo to the Red Sox. In that deal, they got Jostinson Garcia, known as the Password, who had kind of vaulted up into top 100 prospect status. Yeah. I will say, as a Red Sox fan, I think it maybe is not going to look as good as it did for stretches last year.
No.
I mean, this is a guy who hit 271 in AAA, but he was only hitting 250 in AA. He had 102 strikeouts in 81 games in AAA. There's a lot of swing and miss there. And so I kind of think the Red Sox, like, trading him when the hype train had gotten so high, makes a lot of sense. You have to do something with Johan Oviedo. You have to either get him to throw strikes. Well, really, you have to get him to throw strikes. But if you can, that's a pretty good return. But do you think the Pirates actually make a meaningful move? Like we've talked about, with Skeens and with Bubba Chandler, and they're going to get Jared Jones back, May, June-ish of next year. Braxton Ashcraft is interesting. Mike Burrows is interesting. Mitch Keller is like fine if he's your SP4, 5 type of guy. Like, they have a decent enough pitching staff. If they could put together a decent lineup, like, they could win some games. They could be like Marlins level feisty from, last year, a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah.
Do you think we'll actually see them do anything?
I think they're at least intending to try to do something. I don't know how serious they are to do it. I think this is the first, they want us to at least believe so. Like, this offseason could end with, Carlos Santana and Ramon Urias still. I think there's a really good chance of that happening, but at least this is the first time they might be trying to try, which is the way I want to phrase that.
Mm-hmm.
I see no reason why they wouldn't. I do like the Jostinson Garcia shot. I think that there's a world where you could get like a Wilyer Abreu outcome on him from the same team that developed him.
You have to take those shots.
It's a fun shot to take. Yeah. Like,
you have to take those shots.
Jostinson Garcia could hit 30 home runs in a major league season and give you plus outfield defense. Like, that's for a guy like Johan Oviedo, which from the Red Sox perspective, like, you're betting on pitch traits, and from the Pirates perspective, you have a decent rotation. Like, that's a fun trade to make. That, as a Pirates fan, just making a deal like that would make me more excited about this team than I think I would have been over the last 24 months.
Yeah. They also added Marco Luciano, which is like,
fun. I can't believe he's not an Angel.
Right. Marco Luciano, only 24 years old. It has not worked out, but like, these are the things the Pirates need to do. Like, take a shot, see if it works out.
Have fun.
Yeah. Have a little fun,
And
Pirates.
this is fun again. Like Pirates have fun. Like make the move for Munetaka Murakami if the contract comes down. Like make
Right.
the move for Kazuma Okamoto if that is something that's feasible. Like get some players on this team. Try to get a wild card spot. The Mets probably aren't going to get one now. So there's definitely an open spot competition wise in the National League.
Yeah. Do you think the Phillies are just going to run it back? Is the question from Berna here. Schwarber, 5 years, 150 mil. They gave an extension to their manager. They have apparently a contract offer out to JT Realmuto. The last report is that the ball is in his court. So like, they could, there are some minor moves that they could make. There are some reports that like they're still looking for, do they run it back? Do they have Justin Crawford play center field? Or do they try to acquire a center fielder? They've been like linked to Luis Robert a bunch. But do you think the Phillies are basically going to run it back with the same team? And then I guess it'd be Andrew Painter for Ranger Suarez in the rotation, unless they bring Suarez back also.
I don't think they had much of a choice, sadly enough. Like, and that's also not that bad of a thing. Like, this was a good Phillies team, but you do kind of run the risk by bringing back the same exact team over and over and over again of like just staleness setting in. Like, I think that can happen to aging, even though despite good cores like the Phillies have, like you kind of got that boost from John Duran to trade deadline last year. Even bringing back the same good team, I think mentally for a club like this that's just gotten their heads beat in the last few postseasons, you have to make some kind of improvement somewhere. It might not even be the best baseball move, but some position has to get better. Like you have to leave yourself the opportunity for something to change. And if this rotation next year doesn't have Zach Wheeler, which he's throwing, they might have him. It's hard to see the path for World Series competition, but at the same time, like this lineup, they probably still have the best team in the National League East, and that's just a good place to start. Dave Dombrowski will add the trade deadline. Like it'd be silly for them not to try this again, right?
Yeah, why not? I mean, listen, you have been a very competitive team.
You have Turner and Harper for like half decade each more at least.
Harper, man, that's a
Mr. Raw Milk. You're not confident in what the future holds.
Mr. Filter My Own Blood, Mr. Raw Milk. I don't know, man. It's
weird.
He's lost a lot of weight. We'll see how that translates to power. But yeah, I have some questions. I have some questions about what Bryce Harper will do, how he'll perform. Are there any teams as we head into the final days of the winter meeting, the final minutes of this Q&A? Are there any teams besides the ones that we've already talked about that you are like really watching to see what they do over the next couple of days?
The Mets. I'd like to see the Mets maybe. Like is Wilson Contreras on the table? Is Kyle Tucker on the table? The Blue Jays, I think, are still very much big game hunting. They, I think, are the leaders for both Ketel Marte and Kyle Tucker at the moment. If they get both of those guys, my jaw would drop on the floor. If they get one of those guys, I'd be really impressed. The Red Sox have such a war chest available right now to them. And if they want to push chips in a very tremendous way, I'd like to see if they can do that. I think the Phillies are another team that they have a weird farm system. They have kind of two studs at the top, Justin Crawford, then who's like a high floor, I want to say, but strange upside player because it's a hit first guy with questionable swing decisions with no game power, but was going to walk into major leagues, one of the best gloves in center field. Do they just ship all of that off for like do they try to make room for Fernando Tatis or Tarik Skubal? Like I think teams are going to get creative right now. The Padres going to trade Mason Miller. Like I think those are the teams definitely watching the closest. There's fun stuff happening.
They've said they're not going to.
Does it make sense too? Kind of.
What?
Trade Mason.
Unless you're making your closer.
The Padres rotation is so bad right now. It's deplorable considering how they expect to compete next year. Like Kyle Hart and Randy Vasquez just can't be in an opening day rotation for a Padres team that hopes to still compete for a World Series. And their bullpen, they have 3 of the best 10 relievers in the National League in the same bullpens. Like how do you find a path forward here to compete next season?
Yeah, it might be winding up dealing one of those guys. I think the Cardinals are one of the more fascinating teams right now because, as you mentioned, there are so many guys that they could trade.
Yeah.
They seem to be turning the page. So what about Arenado? Where does Wilson Contreras go? Everybody seems to want Brendan Donovan. Do the Cardinals want Brendan Donovan, or are they going to take one of these deals and get rid of Brendan Donovan? Teams are sniffing around Lars Nootbaar. He's never quite emerged into whatever they thought that he was going to be. So do you take some of the offers on Lars Nootbaar? And so I just think the Cardinals hold some interesting pieces in this postseason, in this offseason, because I think really the only thing nailed down in their lineup is Mason Wynn.
Definitely.
And I guess kind of Alec Burleson, because like he's probably your starting first baseman if Contreras leaves, or your starting left fielder, or whatever. And you really need pitching, because the Cardinals rotation right now, if you had to guess who Fangraphs has as the Cardinals ace, who would it be?
Is it Richard Fitz? I don't know.
No, it is not.
Is
He's in their rotation, though.
Is Miles Mikola still under contract? No, he's not, right?
No.
I tell me.
It's Matthew Liberatore.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The Cardinals seem content though to win 60 games next year.
Yeah, Matthew Liberatore, Andre Palante, Michael McGreevy, Richard Fitz, and Kyle Leahy.
It's going to be a draft champion's dream.
Potentially in rotation. In the rotation as well.
The Cardinals just seem like, and this is going to be the first time in a long time this will happen for Cardinals fans, just really okay with losing every single game next season.
Yeah, they and it's wild. It's just tanking is not really a thing that so much happens
St. Louis
in baseball, just because you're not like secured the number one pick. But yeah, that is it's gonna be a bad team.
We've seen some pretty prolific tankers over the last decade and a half. Like we've seen,
but usually it's like poorly run organizations who are like unable. It's
not great.
Not a team like with the means and the perennial success to then say, "Hey, we're just not going to be good this year."
Yeah, the tanking is more like an excuse to just save money for an owner. It's really more so than like let's accumulate talent, like the NBA. Like there's no Cam Boozer to come to a Major League Baseball team. There's no guarantee of anything like that.
Right. Well, there is a guarantee that we're going to get some more moves in the winter meeting. James and I will probably be back at some point in the offseason to cover those. Obviously not until the new year. And then we will probably try to fire up one of these in January when we get a few more moves and we can talk about some things. As you can see now, we're going to do these live on X as well as on YouTube and Twitch. So there's lots of ways to get your questions in. We got some articles coming out over on the website. We already have our reaction to the Edwin Diaz signing. We're going to get a Pete Alonso reaction up today as well. And so, as the moves come in, we'll continue to get those up.
I'm doing a winter meetings recap that'll come out tomorrow or Friday morning, just touching on the big moves that we'll have the main articles on, but then kind of taking a big scoop of all the low moves to give you guys an update on a lot of the things that you might have missed that happened this week.
Yeah, and then as always, just remember to keep it locked to Rotoworld. We are updating literally everything on the player news feed. Even like, did you know that Albert Abreu signed in Asia? Because he did, and we blurbed about it. And so you could have read about that.
Brian Mata too, right?
Over on the website. What?
Brian Mata, Yomiuri Giants.
Brian Mata. There was a time where I think I had him in a dynasty league, but didn't happen. Also, I guess there was somebody today that my guy Carson McCusker, who came up for the Twins last year, who's like just a behemoth right-handed power hitter who can't hit righties all that well, but I guess he just got DFA'd and he's going to sign in Asia too. So listen, he'll be the new Franchi Cordero over there. And we can tell you all about that. We're on the Rotoworld Player News feed. So make sure you check that out. Check James' article out later this week. And we'll be back to talk more baseball, off-season baseball with you sometime in the new year. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy the time with your families. Enjoy the relaxing time by yourself. Enjoy your New Year's. And we'll see you in 2026.
Bye, guys.
See ya.